Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome to a different video from my usual Jurassic Park and or Kaiju related video. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Jakks Pacific 4-inch Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong. Now, the reason why I'm reviewing these two is because Donkey Kong Country, my second favorite video game of all time, turns 30 years old today, and I kind of wanted to celebrate it. I love the Donkey Kong Country series, I respect the 80s arcade game, it did a lot for, the gaming industry, so I have nothing but respect for it, but I just love what Rare added to the Donkey Kong series. I love the characters, the world building, everything about the Donkey Kong Country games I think are phenomenal. Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong Country 2, Donkey Kong Country 3 I think is good, but not as good as the first two. And I really love the games by Retro Studios, Returns and Tropical Freeze, though I will say I do wish that those games had the Kremlings. I think King K. Rool, at least, is probably one of Nintendo's best villains, and it really makes me sad that they don't utilize him more. Why isn't he in the Donkey Kong theme park that's coming soon? Why? He should be there. But I digress. Anyway, Donkey Kong Country turns 30 today, and I wanted to celebrate that, so let's just get right into this. Now, normally I don't talk about the packaging when I do figure reviews, but I want to do so in this case because I just want to point out, I'm actually really happy that Nintendo is kind of trying to separate the Donkey Kong brand from the Mario brand. I like Mario, don't get me wrong, I think, I do enjoy Mario games, but, Donkey Kong, I think, should be its own thing. And with this packaging, I am very happy that they are treating it as such, We have Donkey Kong in the corner here, Donkey Kong right there. The background here, as you can see behind Donkey Kong, is based on Donkey Kong Country Returns. And, of course, Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, Jakks Pacific, and the figures themselves. Now, I actually have two copies of these figures. I have two for in the box and two for out of the box. So, yeah. I normally don't do that. I don't like double dipping with figures, but these figures just look really nice in their packaging. So, yeah. But anyway, on the back here, we have a picture of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong respectively. Some bios here, so if you want to pause and read, there you go. Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, yeah. So, yeah. Again, that's pretty much it for the packaging. Again, I'm really happy that Nintendo is, separating the Donkey Kong brand from the Mario brand. Again, I love Mario, but just Donkey Kong should be its own thing. It should be its own identity, and I think that Nintendo trying to push that idea is really cool. So, yeah, that's it for the packaging. Now going back to Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong themselves, to start, we'll take a look at the paint, and the painting on these guys, I think, looks pretty good, so let's take a closer look. Starting with Donkey Kong, we can see that most of this figure is casted in this brownish coloration, which, for the most part, I think looks nice. I think his arms are a little too glossy, but besides that, I think this is a nice shade of brown to use. His feet, hands, and chest and stomach area, as well as his head here, are going to be painted this tannish color, which I think looks good. Donkey Kong is going to have white eyes with brown pupils. And the thing I like here, they actually painted the gums on this figure, and the gums are painted like this pink coloration. And they didn't need to do that, but they did, and I really do appreciate that. It's a very small detail, but still, I do think it adds a lot of, personality to this figure. So, yeah. Of course, the Donkey Kong iconic tie here is casted in this red material, and the DK logo is going to be painted yellow. And that's pretty much it for Donkey Kong. Now for Diddy Kong. And more or less it's the same thing. We have the same shade of brown and the same tan for the face and stomach area and the hands and feet and everything like that. We have the Nintendo logo up top, and of course he has a red hat, red shirt with yellow stars, and yeah, that's pretty much it. It's about the same quality wise as Donkey Kong. So these guys are pretty much on par with one another. So overall, I think the painting on these guys look great. Again, Donkey Kong's arms, I think, are a little too glossy, but as is, the painting here looks good. So the painting here, I'd say, gets a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the articulation, starting with Donkey Kong. And the articulation here is actually really cool. So Donkey Kong has a ball joint on his head, so he can look in multiple different directions, which I think is nice. The arms can move backwards like so, and move 360 degrees. We have a slight bend in the elbows here. Not a lot, but still, like, a good amount. We have wrist swivels here. Going to the legs here, they can move backwards like so, and forwards about that much. Donkey Kong can kick about that far, and his feet are on swivels as well. Now, one thing I want to point out about Donkey Kong is that all of, like, the promotional pictures and all of, like, the, like, you know, everything for Donkey Kong that I've seen, as far as, like, the official, like, you know, advertising goes, they always have him standing like this, which I just think looks really weird. So it's really cool that Jakks Pacific gave you the option to put him in a quadrupedal pose, like how we see in the games. I really like that. So that, I think, is really cool. But that's pretty much it for Donkey Kong, and the articulation here, again, I think is really cool, but more on that later. Now for Diddy Kong. And Diddy Kong is more or less like the same, you know, not as much articulation as Donkey Kong, but we have a swivel at the head. The arms can move outwards like so. We have a bend in the elbows here, and we do have wrist swivels as well. Diddy Kong can kick, well, actually do a 360. Look at that. Diddy Kong's knees can bend like so. And the feet are on swivels as well. Lastly, the tail is on a swivel. And that's pretty much it. Not as much as Donkey Kong, mostly in the head, but still, the articulation on Diddy Kong is still very good. So that's pretty much it for the articulation on these figures. And between the two, I think Donkey Kong has the better articulation, but overall, the articulation here is just, like, solid between both figures. So, in general, I'd say the articulation on these guys gets a pass. Now, I want to take a quick look at the accessories. Now, each figure comes with one accessory, not just in this Donkey Kong line, but in, like, the Mario line as well. Like, each character comes with, like, one accessory. And even the Sonic line, like, whenever they, you know, make a Sonic figure, Jakks Pacific, whenever they make a Sonic figure, there's always one little accessory. And, of course, Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong got the same treatment. So, starting with Donkey Kong, the accessory that he comes with is a bunch of bananas, which I think is cool and all, though I would have preferred if they were painted a little more. Like, I'm not expecting high art, but maybe, like, little bits of black at, like, the bottoms, or maybe, like, a little bit of green, like, towards the top of the bananas. I don't know. A little more paint would have been nice, but then again, in the games, they were mostly just one singular color anyway, so I guess I'm complaining about nothing, but regardless, Donkey Kong comes with bananas, and it's neat. I like them. Now, by contrast, here's Diddy Kong's accessory, which is a DK barrel, and this thing looks really good. The painting on it looks very solid, you know, very smooth. I love how the DK logo just pops here. It looks great. And overall, this is just a really nice looking accessory, you know, like the brown looks great. It looked like the sculpting is great. Overall, this is great. I like this. Diddy Kong definitely has the better accessory, but again, what is Donkey Kong without bananas? Let's be honest here. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the accessories. Now, we'll take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpting on these figures, for the most part, I think look pretty much perfect. I think these are pretty much one-to-one to how these guys looked in the games, whether it's the Donkey Kong games or the Mario spin-offs that these guys appear in. Like, the sculpting here looks perfect. I have no complaints whatsoever, except for one very minor thing, and that's with Donkey Kong. Now, there's no workaround for this issue, so I'm probably complaining about nothing, but there are very noticeable gaps in the shoulders here. I feel like they could have hid these a little better, but even then, that's still a very minor issue because Donkey Kong still looks great. Diddy Kong looks great too, but Donkey Kong, like, both of these guys look great. So overall, I think the sculpting on these figures are great, so they definitely get a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the detailing, starting off with Diddy Kong this time. And first of all of, like, the fur detailing all over his body, like on his tail here and his arms and everything, like, it's detailed very nicely. Like, the Donkey Kong Country series, obviously, it's a cartoonish series, so, you know, like, as far as, like, cartoonish things like, you know, Mario or even Sonic for that matter, you know, there's not going to be a lot of detailing because, again, like, it's an animated, like, cartoon, but here, it's like, you know, there's actually some decent, like, fur detailing here, and it looks really nice, you know? Like, the detailing on Diddy Kong's face looks good, too, you know, and even, like, the ears and everything like that. The detailing here is actually very good. So, yeah, Diddy Kong has a lot of really nice detailing. Now going to Donkey Kong, we have the same thing here. The fur detailing isn't as detailed as Diddy Kong's, but the detailing that's here is still very nice looking. You know, all of, like, the fur and everything looks great. You know, again, just a lot of really nice detailing on the face here. The teeth are detailed really nicely as well. And yeah, overall, just a lot of really nice detailing here. So, yeah, the detailing on these figures are surprisingly good. So, yeah, overall, I'd say the detailing here definitely gets a pass. Now, we'll do some size comparisons, but before I bring in those figures for comparison, I just want to quickly talk about the scaling between these two specifically. And it all depends on how you look at it. Because there are a few ways of looking at it. Well, two ways. But either way, if you look at it as far as, like, the scaling, you know, in, like, the retro studio games, so Returns and Tropical Freeze, these two, this scaling does not work at all. Diddy Kong is way too big, or Donkey Kong is way too small. Either way, this scaling doesn't work in that regard. But if you look at the original SNES trilogy, you can see that they're roughly the same height as one another in those games. Granted, that's probably due to limitations as far as game development goes at the time, so that might have something to do with it, but I feel like the scaling between Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong has been a little inconsistent throughout the years. So, as far as the scaling goes with these two figures, I'm happy with it. Diddy Kong could have been a little smaller, or Donkey Kong could have been a little bigger, but either way, I think these two look good together regardless, so yeah. Anyway, now for the comparison. Here we have the Jakks Pacific 2.5-inch Cranky Kong. Here we have the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate King K. Rool Amiibo. Nintendo, you got him in Smash. Why isn't he in the theme park? Getting off topic. Getting off topic. Here we have the 2.5-inch Jakks Pacific Knuckles the Echidna. Now, for context, Donkey Kong Country is my second favorite video game of all time, and it turns 30 today. But my favorite video game of all time, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, also turns 30 this year. So it's really cool that two of my favorite video games of all time turn 30 in the same year. They came out in the same year, and it's a neat little thing. I like that a lot, you know. And plus, you know, I would have done something for Sonic 3, but I already did something for Sonic on, you know, the 30th anniversary, so I feel like that would have been much, but regardless, you know, I decided to include Knuckles here because Knuckles turns 30 this year, and Knuckles deserves some love. I mean, heaven forbid Sega does anything for Knuckles this year. He turns 30, and it's the year of Shadow for some reason. I don't understand that, but I'm getting off topic. Anyway, of course, here we have some hand sanitizer. And here we have Dr. Billy Grant. So at the end of the day, should you get these figures? I'd say yes. I think these are very nice figures. I think the painting looks great, the articulation, the sculpt, the little accessories that they come with. Everything about these figures I think are really nice, and I totally recommend that you pick these guys up. Now, as far as price tags go, now, I believe these guys are exclusive to Walmart, but MSRP for these guys I think is about like $12 each, which honestly, that's a really good price. Like, not only do you get a really nice quality figure, but you also get like a really cool like accessory. I think that's a really good deal. You know, so in total, you're only going to pay like $24 for both of these guys MSRP, which again, I think is a great deal. You know, there's a lot here. Like for $12, that's great. So absolutely, I totally recommend that you pick these guys up. Though the last few times I've been to Walmart, I haven't seen these guys on the shelves. So unfortunately, I don't think these guys are, you know, available there anymore. I could be wrong. Maybe they're on the website. I'm not sure. But if you have to pay aftermarket prices for these guys, I think each figure is like $20 each, which still isn't bad by any means. You know, you're going to be paying a little more, but I'd buy $20 for these guys. If you had to pick one, though, I'd say get Donkey Kong, because, I don't know, for me, I like Donkey Kong's articulation more. And I like Diddy Kong. Diddy Kong is a great figure, too, but if I had to pick one, I'd have to go with Donkey Kong. But with that said, you kind of need both of them, right? It's like Beavis without Butthead, okay? Like, it's not one or the other. You gotta have both. You know, they just complete each other so well, and yeah, like, get them both if you can. If you have to get one, get Donkey Kong, but I can't stress this enough. Both of these figures are really nice. So, yeah. It would be really nice if Nintendo continued making, like, Donkey Kong figures like this. I mean, obviously, King K. Rool would be great. I would love it if Jakks Pacific made a King K. Rool figure, but unfortunately, that probably won't happen anytime soon. But as far as, like, already established characters that have been in, like, Returns and Tropical Freeze, you know, I'd love to see Cranky Kong or Dixie Kong or even Funky Kong. Give us Rambi, too. That'd be really cool. Or Squawks. You know, give us, yeah, give it, just keep Jakks Pacific. You're probably not watching this, but please keep making Donkey Kong figures. These guys are really cool, and it would be a shame if you stopped at these two, but I digress. Anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.